Welcome to Blue Collar Mystics, the under-the-hood approach to the depths of human consciousness. So many mysteries, so little time, so many big words. That's why we aim to take the mystical and make it practical, usable in your everyday life. And we want to hear from you. We want to hear your story. What happened when you started asking yourself the real questions? Like, who am I? What is this? Is it a hologram? Is this some kind of weird cosmic joke? Hey, these are the questions that we are trying to get to the bottom of as we explore the final rabbit hole together here as Blue Collar Mystics. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show, Blue Collar Mystics. Got a great show for you. As usual, I'm really excited to get into it. Today, we've got a lot of cool stuff going on in general. I've been making a lot of videos out in nature and just really enjoying that. I got a new one of those dropping on Friday talking about natural law. We've been talking about jumping timelines, quantum leaping into other realities. Are we really shifting into other places in the multiverse, or are we just taking actions, simply getting to our goal? And I think it's kind of a mixture of both. I want to talk a lot about mentality and bring some people who are very knowledgeable about these ideas, sort of modern spirituality, which is really based on a lot of the ancient stuff. It's all kind of the same. But first of all, I want to welcome you here to the podcast. I want to say thanks to our friends at Content Safe for distributing this. We are live on Rockfin, live on YouTube, and live on our Facebook group. And this show will be distributed to BitChute and Float and Odyssey and Gab and all those places too. So if you're there, you can find it. Click the link in the description to connect with us. We would love to say hello. We're on Telegram. We're on Facebook. We're all over the place. And the whole point of what we do is to connect with folks, talk about common ground, and explore from a practical perspective the infinite, the spiritual, the woo-woo. And I'm cool with all the woo-woo stuff. Like it's really cool. I love the mentality of it. But I also think that, to be frank, I worry about some people. There's a lot of mentally ill, crazy people out there, to be honest, Whatever works for you to a point, but we want to explore this stuff. And I brought on two of my favorite people to talk about this kind of stuff today. We have all the way from New Mexico, my good friend Maria West, Love, Truth, and Beauty. Hey, Maria, how you doing?
Hi, darling. I'm good. I'm good.
Just put out a YouTube video today. She's back at it, putting out amazing content on the reg, like Tuesdays and Fridays usually drop.
I know it's an addiction. It really is. Every time I think, you know what, I'm gonna fucking flake for 2 weeks, there's a little voice that pops and goes, "No, you're not. Who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? You love it." And I do. I love it because I say anything I want. I just don't care anymore. Because I used to be so careful. And now I realize, at this stage of my life, who fucking cares? Like, really, who cares?
The IRS agents that'll be knocking at your door by next Thursday. And you'll be like, you know what? You can count it all. Everything I said, it was true. That's one thing that Mark Twain said. He was like, if you're always honest, then you never have to remember what you said.
Exactly. Exactly.
It really does come in a pinch, and I appreciate that about you. It's tremendous. I want to welcome everybody who's in the chat as well. Thanks for coming to hang out with us. Y'all are amazing. And we have my good friend, the Dreamweaver herself, Abby Johnson, also joining us today. What's up, Abby?
How's it going? Things are great. Just just here with y'all.
So chill, you know, like, but don't get out of hand because she'll just hip check you and then throw you out the window.
Yeah,
You
she
know,
will.
look at those guns,
You
dude.
go, girl.
Those don't play. Yeah, the
Hey!
IRS is coming for those guns as well. So just be ready. No, but yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this topic and unpack it with you guys. You know, I hear a lot of people talk about jumping timelines and, you know, shifting reality and all this kind of stuff. And I think one of the things that really helped me was opening up to ideas like this because from a materialist perspective, you know, it seems so finite. You know, I'm going to do this, and then that will lead to this, and then this thing will happen. And coming from a traditional, maybe goal-setting point of view, you might expect certain things to happen in a certain fashion or a certain way. And I know both of you also are very critically thinking adult people, you know, on top of, you know, searching within yourself and looking spiritually and stuff like that. And also very, I would say skeptical, but in a healthy way. Like not skeptical, like I'm just going to throw anything out, you know, because because you can argue against anything. But skeptical from the point of like, okay, well, of course I want to try and change my reality, my life, live in a better way, etc. You know, how can I do that? And how do I know that it's working, right? Like the idea of manifestation might seem a little flighty or wooey for a lot of people, or too kind of pie in the sky kind of. And I think that's how it's interpreted in general, that that manifestation is this magical thing that you conjure up a certain idea and then you put it out there into the universe, right? Like we put it out into the universe and then this thing's going to happen. And then we're going to skip on to another life track. And then we're going to be, you know, that perfect version of ourselves. And we're going to leave all these freaking normies behind because we're going to be on another new earth or something, some other parallel thing. I don't know. I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, just for the sake of making a point. And I say all that to say too, that I'm going to like contradict myself here because the idea of infinity is so important. And I remember thinking about that from a young age. Like I wrote a song when I was in like probably the 7th grade or something, that was just talking about fractals, you know, box inside of a box. And just the fact that there is infinity, that it exists mathematically, it's provable. Like that means that within the mind of the all, then every possibility then there does exist. It truly is infinite. And I didn't make the correlation to that infinite mind and the dream space until a book we're all very familiar with. You knew it before any of us did, but Reality Transurfing. We talk about that book all the time, but I think that'll be a great primer for anybody who's trying to understand this concept. If you really want to understand what it sort of means to jump timelines, then I think that's probably the best book as far as how people are talking about it. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Abby and Maria, on this idea, like jumping timelines. Abby, you've changed a lot in the past year. Would you say that you've jumped timelines? Are you on a different life track now?
Absolutely. But I see it as a shift of the assemblage point now, just because I've gone deeper into the transurfing stuff. So I've gone so deep into it that I've started exploring where he kind of come up with some of his concepts. And it's like, wow, the more you realize that it's all within you, every reality. It's not separate from you. It's all attached to your back. You know, it's just you tuning into the right frequency. So yeah, living as if, you know, just immersing myself in bodybuilding world, and all of a sudden I'm a bodybuilder. It's like huge transformation since February, and it's amazing, you know, what you can do.
It is amazing. It is amazing what you can do. You have so much variance. You know, people say, you know, don't give your power away, keep your power, and all that stuff. It sounds so cliche, but it is really true. It's like you're talking about, you know, over this past year, coming into the bodybuilding world and becoming part of that world. And then you start to act as if, well, then you put yourself in that environment and now it's rubbing off on you and you can't help but be part of that. The culture is part of you, right? And so it's this whole thing that just like momentous shit vocabularies. There's momentum. You got
It
momentum,
builds.
and then it builds, and
Yeah.
then things start to happen more and more. As a result of that, it starts to cascade, and that's something we could talk a little bit about. Like that's like a wave of fortune, like a whole bunch of things just positive happening on top of on top. Maria,
You
how
catch the wave,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly. You catch the wave,
Absolutely.
and
It's
then
like
you
you
ride that.
immerse yourself in the idea, and then it's like, so I'd follow bodybuilders and learn about bodybuilding, and then all of a sudden here I am, like, I'm doing it. That's who I've become. So
Word.
with anything.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that's definitely part of it, right? Like queuing off, and I think you probably develop in a lot of ways so much more quickly than you even realize, just because of that, putting yourself in that situation. It's like jumping into the pool to kind of learn to swim. Maria, how do you sort of process this idea of jumping
I
timelines?
agree with Abby. And what you're doing is you're actually activating and embodying the law of assumption that whatever it is that you intend for yourself in your layer of the reality, you have to assume it. And you have to assume it not just, the idea of it and the intention. What is the intentionality of it? It's heart, mind, body, soul coordination. All of that has to match up. And so, in order for it to materialize, you have to be aligned in not just your thoughts and your beliefs. In other words, your thoughts and your beliefs have to have the quality of what it is that you are intending. Your emotional countenance has to match the final outcome of what it is that you're intending. And whatever it is that you're intending, if it's not aligned with your soul, well, your head is kind of up your ass and you're going to have problems. It's not going to happen. And I know for myself, just the quantum jumping that I have done. I mean, I'm actually thinking of retiring from the whole shebang to enjoy more of my life because, I'm not like really feeling the whole, fucking push and let's just make it happen. It's like, fuck you people. I'm old. I'm going to be 63. I don't want to fucking push it. I don't have to, and in letting that go, in seeing myself have this life at ease, and seeing myself being in love and being surrounded by these aligned opportunities. I'm doing, like, I don't know, like maybe 9 podcasts a week now, and they're all hitting this like gold mine of people that I would have never found them on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, because none of these people are into that shit. And it's like, who knew? Because I have this mindset that at my age, well, I better get more hip to social media and more hip to all these fucking platforms. And guess what? I don't have the Zoom will travel, da, 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 da. And that's what it is. And I'm just like kind of blown out because I don't feel like I'm pushing it, and I was like pushing so many of these envelopes and doing this and doing that and doing this and doing that. And I just got to roll my eyes into that because was that really in my intentionality? No, it wasn't. And so what's important in quantum jumping is really feeling into the totality of that final outcome. Like, don't think about it in terms of these small, minuscule little goals. Okay. Like for me, I got to feel it. So what I'm feeling is like this ecstatic awesomeness. It's like, wow, look at me. Check this out. How fun is this? And all the little details and all the various chains of events that are part of the universe, and that's the universe's business and not my business, are like happening synchronistically and in ways that even I didn't even come up with it. So all that entrepreneurial stuff of things that I've signed up for to the tune of like 30K for the year, it's like, you fuck off. No, It didn't do anything for me except, made me rethink there's an easier way. And there really is. And the heart, mind, body, soul coordination has to happen. You have to see yourself in that final frame and you have to assume all of it, the emotions, the thought quality, the physicality, like what I've had to do in order to up level my thoughts. I've changed a lot of stuff in my diet. I had a really great diet, but some shit just had to go. Some people had to go in my life, and you know what? So be it. And it's all good. You just make room for what's coming and what's happening. So
On point. I love that. I mean, you don't have a mic to drop, you must have done that earlier before you came on the show. You're like, I'm just going to continue this trend.
I gave up the mic. It was actually like my inner ear got bruised from this headphone that I was using. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And it was just like rubbing in the wrong way. It didn't hurt, but it was enough that, I'm like, okay, that's not good. Odd.
Yeah, it is odd, but no, I think you're exactly right. It's really about that alignment. That if that's off, then what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like you're just trying
makes it hard.
You're trying to cheat reality. You're trying to hack the whatever. You don't have to hack anything or cheat code. Fuck, what is that? Like, why do you want to cheat reality?
Yeah,
like that's
the hacking is the assumption.
Yeah,
that's the hacking.
Got it. Yep. That's just assuming and creating that image in advance, right? Like the mentality.
Abby, you look amazing because I remember when you started this whole thing, and it's like, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you always looked amazing, Abby. But I mean, certainly now you can see the transformation and the change, and it comes through, not just physically with those. How big is a beach ball, by the way? Can you show us? Can you show us how big a beach ball is?
Oh, you want me to do some posing?
Yeah,
stand up for that.
But no. But no. I mean, it's awesome. But I think there's also an effortlessness to it. But it's also something that's in alignment for you. It's something that you have. Like, I don't have the motivation to go to the gym for 3 hours 4 times a week or whatever, right? Like, I just don't have it. I do have the motivation to carry a raft on my back down a 1/4-mile stretch of mountain terrain and flip it over and haul guests down the river. So I'm getting exercise,
Nice.
but I don't have that same. I'm doing something that seems to be in alignment for me, right? And then what you've done has been that way for you. So that's the biggest thing. I think that when people get off, they're like, I want a Tesla, or I want a hot girlfriend, or whatever superficial bullshit that you could fill in the blank with, basically, right? Like, I just want $1 million in small bills, or like whatever the stupid thing is that the retort.
$5 bills, please.
The classic retort, I just want a world without IRS agents. That's all I'm asking. But the truth is, you had to find something that truly is in resonance with you, and then start to work toward a stronger version of that. And so this idea of the timeline thing, the way that I perceive it, at least, I don't see anything more than one material reality. And so I can't prove, that there's all these alternate multiverse sort of realities. I'm sure there probably is, right? We're dealing with infinity here. But for a pattern of about 40 years, this shit's been pretty consistent out here. And then in the dream space, it's anybody's guess. Really, anything can happen, and that's where Abby really has a lot of amazing skills, is lucid dreaming and understanding the dream world and the Castaneda stuff, and really how all that folds into these sort of ideas of the infinity quantum, the quantum is just a fancy word that people say when they want to sound smart, sort of thing, how it fits together, and then and also how that links together with trauma. And so I think one thing that kind of does wonders as far as getting in touch with that heart and mind connection and being in alignment with yourself is kind of doing some of that trauma work. And I know that's something that you are pretty well versed in too, Maria.
Yes.
That's something that, we have a lot of different blocks and parts of ourselves that we feel are not okay to share, we're embarrassed of, etc. And it takes some time, but we have to allow those things to be what they are and reincorporate those back into ourself and say yes to the part of ourselves that we said no to, or that somebody else did, right? Like somebody else may have had caused a trauma to us, and so we have to heal from that in order to really, I think, see what is underneath of there, right? Like to hear the heart's call. And I would say like the heart needs to be the thing that's leading that charge as far as alignment goes. The mind is going to that's the thing that does the superficial. It's like, oh, I want something shiny. I want a hot girlfriend. I want the Tesla. I want to sit on a Learjet, which there's nothing wrong with having nice things and dating attractive people, whatever, But again, back to the alignment thing.
Your power isn't shutting down the mind, though. It's shutting it off, because when you let it run all the time, I mean, it's not even necessarily things that you agree with. You're just going through all these different, you're picking stuff up, and shutting down your mind is really kind of a big part of all of it.
Yeah.
It's where you find your magic, really. And I don't just mean meditation. I mean, like, while you're awake and doing things, shut off your thinking sometimes.
Right. Well, be cognizant of, say, the triggers. I just finished a continuing education thing and I had to do this. It was 24 hours on complex PTSD. And so reviewing that training and how a lot of it is so pre-verbal. And if you don't catch it and you're in the middle of a fucking flashback, you can actually deter yourself from doing any kind of reality creation, let alone quantum jumping, because you won't be aware. You're in a flashback and you won't catch yourself, and you will be rendered sound asleep and unconscious. And when that shit happens, you're just like I caught myself in a flashback not that long ago, and I literally had to push all my buttons for my training from my previous training, and I could not get myself out of it. And it was only until I was in the middle of the training the following week, and thank God that was going, because I don't know what would have happened to me. I would have been stuck in this fucking pre-verbal fugue, all fucked up. I would have ruined all my relationships, I'm certain. But being in the hot seat and being forced to do this, it was like, oh, wow. And it's amazing what happens, because, when you're up leveling certain aspects of your life, like for me, up leveling my relationship qualities, not just my friendships, but with my partner. And so if you're in some kind of pre-verbal flashback that's based on some kind of complex PTSD that you have either forgotten about or it has been so long. Like my last flashback was at least 25 years ago. And so for me to be cognizant now of what happened and seeing now in hindsight the trajectory of this shit show that unfolded, that was ready to sabotage every bit of quantum jumping and up leveling that I'd been doing for say the last year. Holy moly. So we have to keep apprised of our mental quality and our emotional quality, and also what's going on in the physical body. And which is why I think, for all intents and purposes, what you've been up to, Abby, in terms of the bodybuilding is so good, because you get to watch the results, and you can also feel into the alignment of whatever comes up emotionally and in your thought quality as you were going through the physicality of what you actually have to do in terms of up leveling your body, with all of the I don't know what kind of program that you're doing, but you know what I'm getting at.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
And
it's
it's
really cool.
intense.
Yeah, it is intense. And I think it's really cool to be able to take that objective perspective of yourself, right? And so then you can become the character, maybe to skip from like reality transurfing to the idea of like the Tufty thing, where she
Yes.
uses infinite film rolls
Yeah.
as
I
the
love her.
metaphor,
I
right?
love the film role
The film
thing.
roll
That
thing,
is
right?
so effective.
So there's a million bajillion different film rolls you could be on. And probably you're stepping on one and up into a different one and this one, that one all the time, right? Like constantly, the level of your experience is changing. And I think with what we've learned as far as mentality, mentalism, and how we affect the reality with our attitude around us is like in those times when you're at the gym and you're, 2.5 hours in and you still got another half hour, if you can have the wherewithal and the mental capacity to learn to be present in that moment. Like being present now is what creates the future. It's not that just presence is just the answer. Like just sit there and stare at your navel. Okay, all done. It's not that. It's that being present is the thing that allows us to create the future by being aware of what we're doing right now. That's going to have an effect later on. So like you're beaming, radiating positivity and enjoying the process. The more you enjoy that process, the more positive you are about it, the more effective the results are going to be from you having that attitude in those times. And the more challenging it gets, even the more the more better, even the better it is to have that type of an attitude, Like what is the most mundane and most banal aspect of the thing that you're doing? If you're a music producer, right? Like love wrapping cables. Love it. If you're in comedy, love sitting around at shitty open mics and the awkwardness and the sadness and the depravity that you get to witness at those events. Like if you want to be like a NASCAR engineer or something, then, enjoy all the aspects of, putting the tools away where they belong. Like these are little annoyances that if you can learn to love, it's going to shift your lifeline up just by having a positive attitude during the shitty times, or not even the shitty times, just the
Or
mundane.
even to just be thankful for them, because
Yeah.
it's like, I'm thankful for the little shitty, boring shit that I have to do, because it means that I get a second to pause and reflect. And so, yeah, I mean, putting your tools away, sometimes that's what that is. It's not necessarily something you want to do. It's not your favorite part, but if you can look at it as something that you can appreciate, you're going to jump timelines.
Yeah, every little bit helps. I said it like a billion times, but like you can't complain your way to a better reality. It just doesn't work that way.
That's so true. That's so true. Can't. It's not going to happen.
And then, you realize how, I don't know, you guys must know what I'm talking about, but it's like, I feel like I'm so stinking magical now that I really got to watch myself, especially the downward spiral. Because it's like,
yes,
it'll happen so fast where if I get into a bad mood, it's like, I better turn it around and find something to be appreciative for really quick, because I can manifest bad just as well as I can manifest good, and it happens quickly.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I heard somebody say, I don't know who it was, but it was one of the books I've read on Scribd, probably one of these old audio books. I'm just obsessed with all the old like self-help books. It might have been like The Instant Millionaire, or maybe T. Harv Eker's book, but basically just saying that like you need to get to 51% positive thoughts, like to take a little bit of pressure off, the downward spiral is not good. Like today I chipped a tooth and, I was at first not super stoked about it, but I really need to go to the dentist anyway. And this is just a really nice invitation to just go ahead and hop in the chair, So I could have come undone. I remember being in college, I would like go to my bank account to try to get the last $20 out to get like a gram of weed or something, and then not have enough money and then be upset. And then that would carry on into everything. And that attitude would literally color the texture of every other aspect of my life. I would talk about, when I got upset, I would just literally unload whatever that was onto every other thing, like my car, my girlfriend, whatever. I mean, literally whatever, my house, it doesn't matter. But that literally was smeared all over every other aspect of my experience. When it's like, well, dude, you don't have $20 in your bank account. Like, okay, I don't have $20 in my bank account. Like, what, like, don't let that affect everything else in a negative way. Because that downward spiral, it is very destructive, and it can happen. At the same time, it's okay to have a sense of humor about things and be human too, and have a reaction. I think you, Maria, have kind of a process for that, don't you? When something
I totally do, and I just did a video on the sort of antithesis of expansion is contraction. Every expansion has an equal and opposite contraction, so we can't just be. I mean, it's just not sustainable. And so when the contraction happens, it's really a time to rest and rejuvenate, and just take a little break, take a little siesta from it, and not to bully our limitations, our sensitivities, our exhaustion. Not to bully that, the hyper masculinized mindset of produce, do, the gaga zaza of the world, and just like make it happen. I want to slap people when I hear that shit, because I find that stressful, because there is an ebb and flow of life. And, if you don't have the ebb and flow and you don't have the downtime, you're not going to enjoy and be able to like stand back and look in the mirror and savor, like, well, check me out, I'm fucking rocking it. You have to be able to savor and take downtime, and there's nothing wrong with it. And the mindset in the matrix and all of the first world entrepreneurship, of all that, it's like, shut up, stop, go away, get away from me. That is not how I want to live. I don't want to live like that. I want to have space. I want to have space in between this and that. And I want to have even more space between that and this. And I don't need to push it, And I think when we push it, I think that's a sign of really not trusting the process, that you have to, like buoy it up. And so there is that sort of control factor, that you want to control the universe. And I know what the universe does to me when I want to control it. It's just like going, okay, bitch, we had something better for you, but if you want, go on, be my guest, have at it. And I make life hard.
You want to manhandle the universe?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I should take a rest. So I am an advocate of naps, man. I like taking naps.
Me too.
Totally into it. I love it.
Having the best dreams during naps.
Yes.
But going off what you were saying, it's like the whole happiness thing. Everyone thinks they need to be happy all the time. And if they're not happy all the time, they're doing something wrong. And here's the thing. Happiness is an emotion, just like anything else. Feeling happy is an emotion. It's temporary, and it should be temporary. If you are happy all the time, you're not on guard. You're not paying attention to all the shit that's happening around you that could possibly harm you. Yeah. So you should be happy sometimes. You should really, really settle for being content, because, we should feel all the spectrum of emotions at some point. It's okay to have anxiety sometimes. Anxiety means your shit's changing. So, and Castaneda would say your assemblage point's moving. It's getting ready to tune into a new frequency. So of course you're going to feel anxiety. Yeah. So, these things are normal, and they do have to have, a countermeasure. You don't want to be at any one state for too long, not even happiness. Happiness isn't sustainable. It's not sustainable.
And it can dysregulate your nervous system so quickly. And that was kind of like part of my problem, just the doing, floating from one project to the next, and the next, to completion, not celebrating, not savoring, not appreciating, not, just being in that place of, oh God, panic, I'm running out of time. No one wants to. That is a terrible way to exist. And I existed like that for a very, very long time. And, it's like you talk about, man, that ego had to go. It had to die fast. It's like, chica, no, stop it. Stop. Stop.
Yeah,
Stop it.
Shannon in the chat says same with love and light
Oh,
all the
yeah.
time.
The living
No,
light.
I'm always in the 11th dimension, just holding on here near the moon. Nothing can shake me or phase me. Like,
God.
yeah,
Yeah, that is
full of
new
shit.
age bullshit at its finest right there.
Spiritual bypassing
Oh,
in the that's a
wow.
really good example. And that could,
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Like, I probably would be that person if it wasn't for having to like do the comedy, if I didn't start the comedy sort of thing, like where I really had to start asking myself some really honest questions, because like there's all these spiritual questions you can ask yourself and just make up positive answers to it. But that art form requires you to point something out of place. That's the point of it. It's something that doesn't seem to work, and then you're pointing that out. And so it's a different angle. And I think that's been really helpful to balance me out, talking about, like, going back to your point, Abby, of, kind of, you have to allow for both. You can't just, and there's something great about the human experience too, right? Like, just appreciating that you can go, like, chug creatine shakes and build giant muscles, or like, fly in a helicopter or jump out of a plane, or like whatever, all the crazy things that we get to do, down here. So I think the more that we can appreciate that, it's back to that idea of you're this central character in this infinite film role, and you're picking based on the way that you're interfacing with nature. I love what you said. I had to write it down. Emotional countenance, Maria. That's perfect. Based on your emotional countenance at whatever level, you're sustaining, elevating, or shifting lower based on that.
Exactly. And if I'm focused in on something that I have intended to create and materialize, and my emotions are like say someone else's, I better have the wherewithal and the self-awareness to catch that shit. You have to. You have to be accountable to, what it is. Like, for whatever it is that you're wanting to materialize and you're intending, and the kind of life that you want to quantum leap and quantum jump to, who do you need to be that person? What do you got to do? How does a person who manifests that, how do they have to think? What are they assuming?
Right.
What kinds of people are they surrounded by? And that's when I mean, I know for me, I had that chuck out so many people that were just like riding on my coattails and dragging my ass down. It's like, no, I'm sorry. I love you. Get out of here. Okay. I'm not carrying you. I'm not going to do it. You can carry yourself. It's like you quantum jump your own reality. I'm not dragging you with me. I'm traveling light.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the thing.
Not that you could. You couldn't. I don't think you could.
Right. So I heard that this weekend or the last weekend, we went over 8 billion people. So we're talking about 8 billion layers, different layers of the universe. So everybody's co-creating their own layer of the universe. And we intersect. Like right now, all three of us, we are intersecting our layers of our respective universes with each other. How fucking hellfied is that? That's awesome. And so that's the thing, is that you have to like really get your thoughts together and your emotions together, and the actions that you're setting out to do, or the inactions, the things that you're not going to do, and be clear about how this is going to impact what it is that you are intending to do. Because if it's not going to help you, then why do it? This is where you start really designing and or aligning with the cosmic design of what it is that you are co-creating with the universe. And sometimes you just got to make the hard decisions. Bye. That's a no-go zone right there.
I think it's really
and just
powerful.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so many better options come to you when you learn to say no.
totally.
It's kind of counterintuitive. A lot of things, or seeming counterintuitive. Maybe it's not counterintuitive. Maybe your intuition's like, fucking drop that bitch. You know what I mean? Like, let him go. Kick him to the curb.
It is. It
Maybe
does
it's
tell you. You rationalize your way out of it. Like, oh,
shove it
that's
in
not
there.
nice.
That's not nice.
Yeah.
No. Certainly that can't be
Give
right.
him 20 chances. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Let's see here. Shannon says what she finds does help is acceptance and don't attach. And then a little emoji. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that. I think that's a really important point, like the idea of detachment. I think a lot of people think that they have to have zero feelings and they have to completely, kind of robot something into existence. I felt that way. I don't know. Maybe I'm projecting, but it's like,
no, I get it.
where you're like, I can't like that too much. I can't have desire or excitement about this because that'll just screw me up. But I think that if you don't have, Napoleon Hill, for instance, talks about how you need to have a burning desire. And I think you need to have some part of you that, and it's back to alignment, but that thing belongs to you, but that you want to pursue it. You want to be able to take the amount of time that's going to take to learn that skill or to get to that place, finish that project, have that object, whatever that is. And you need to, be able to have a healthy relationship to it. It's not about completely, not feeling anything. It shouldn't be a numbness. It's okay to desire something. It's okay to want something. But truly, dreams don't come true. Wishes don't come true. The things that you want don't just come running to you. So I want to talk a little bit about that whole process, the letting go or detachment, and sort of that balance and how we kind of resolve that sort of idea that I want this, but I've let go of it, right?
Castaneda says that basically a warrior, and if you're on this path, you're a warrior, and a warrior should have impeccable intention. So he talks about impeccability, and when I first started reading, I'm thinking like being sinless. That's not what it means. Impeccability means I'm intentional as fuck. So whatever I choose, I'm going to see through, whether it's right or wrong. I chose that, and so I'm going to see it through. A warrior sees it through to the end. But one of the big things that he talks about is the word ruthlessness, and it sounds horrible because we know what ruthless generally means, right? But in the context of the warrior, every warrior should be ruthless. They should be without pity. That means, really what that means is that I don't pity anybody who's in victim mode, because we could all be there. I can feel sorry for myself all day long, but I don't. I might have my moment, when I'm processing the emotion, but then I pull my head out of my ass and I stop feeling sorry for myself. And I've also noticed, though, that since I've started all of this, that I do lack pity for my fellow people. Like, it's not that I don't want to empathize for you, but, you're being a victim more than likely. So
I'm with you.
He calls it sobriety. It's a sobriety of thought. And so that is detachment.
I agree, because you're up leveling essentially your frequency of thought, and you can have empathy, but I know that for me, doing the work that I do with survivors of trafficking, it's like I walk a very fine line, because the people that I work with, I have a certain tone that I use with my survivors. And, I'm a loud mouth. I'm kind of rough. I have a potty mouth with my clients and my survivors. I speak in a very mild mannered, soft tone. So I come from a place of kindness when it comes to working with my clients and my survivors and my students. When it comes to my friends are first fucking worlders. Okay. Sorry, kids. you're going to see me. I will have empathy for you. But when you start fucking whining because you didn't get the fucking Lexus in the color that you wanted, I'm just not going to give you the fucking time of day. And I think that kind of ruthlessness, I mean, I just gave a very absurd example, but at the end of the day, not really. Because when you are in that quantum jumping process and getting really, really, really clear, those thoughts have to be in alignment. If you have an alignment with any kind of victim justification or whatever, you are actually declaring war on yourself because you don't have the alignment of your thoughts. Your thoughts are not congruent with reality that you are intending to materialize and quantum jump to. So you're essentially lying to yourself. So for myself, it's not just about detachment. It's really the steadfastness of the law of assumption and engaging it, living it, embodying it, living, breathing it, speaking it, thinking it, feeling it, doing it,
being it. Yeah, totally. I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree with that more. Yeah, like the idea of like taking the fortress by lengthy siege. Now all of that excess potential is gone, dude, because you don't fucking care how long it takes. It doesn't matter. It's going to take how long it takes. Yada, yada, yada. If it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, I've decided. It's a choice. It's chosen now, and the choice is made. And I just looked up a couple of different definitions for ruthlessness. One is, and this one is going to match what you're talking about from Castaneda, the quality of not thinking or worrying about any pain caused to others when deciding what you need to do.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, there's some other definitions that sound a little bit more harsh, but
here's
that
a
one...
straight quote. Want to hear this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. For a sorcerer, ruthlessness is not cruelty. Ruthlessness is the opposite of self-pity or self-importance. Ruthlessness is sobriety.
It's like a cold mind.
Yeah. Well, it's a very sobering effect that you have when you get really clear about what it's going to take for you. I mean, and especially like a lot of people that I talk about, their mindset is fucked up. I mean, it is just fucked up. They have all these little voices from trauma that are interfering with the process of even getting clarity, that single-mindedness, getting to the mindset that you need to come from in order to change your life. And, you know, you cannot give that shit any kind of credence whatsoever. You have to nip it in the bud. And sometimes that means going to the drawing board and really meeting out, you know, all the fucked up thoughts, all the fucked up emotions, the PTSD, the trauma, the complex PTSD, and like really, really dig in to excavate and compost all that shit that is in your way of your glorious life. And most people don't want to fucking do that. So it would be like, oh, well, you know, it doesn't work for me. No, it doesn't work for you because you're fucking lazy and you don't want to face your shit. And I'm sorry that's harsh. Not really. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. But, you know, this is what you need to. This is the ruthlessness within yourself. It's that radical honesty with yourself that, wow, my mindset, I got to up level that first. You know, and I know that a lot of what I'm witnessing in some of the forums of reality transferring, these people are fucking clueless about reality transferring. There, I fucking said it. Okay. Oh, we're just gonna like. I mean, you talk about magical thinking, and you're not getting your shit lined up. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. And there's a misunderstanding about reality transurfing, I think, within the community itself, you know, because they are actually believing that they're going to bypass any kind of mental clarity.
They don't have to work.
Emotional responsibility that we're just going to like.
And really, it should start you on that path.
Right.
If nothing else, it
Agreed.
should start you on that, because I feel like that's what started for me, was
Yeah.
reading reality transurfing, having it like logically sink in, and then practical application. And then it's like, oh, okay, now I got to do this. I got to do trauma healing, because I'm in these loops that are,
exactly.
these loops that I keep repeating, that all started from shit when I was 3 years old. So like,
I don't know anything about the community, but I'm pretty familiar with the book. Relatively familiar with the book. I've read it at least 100 times. You know what I mean?
I quit several of the communities. I just am like, you know what? This is a waste of time. We're sharing all these stupid memes, and I want to hit the snooze button. So I did. It's just like, why don't I just like leave? Let's just go.
Well, I mean, it's we're designed to grow. We're not supposed to stay in one place forever. We're not supposed to stay in one, idea forever. It should lead to the next thing. It's just like how I kind of see like sort of the manifestation kind of thing, where you can get this idea in your mind, like you were saying, mentality, like that's the primer of everything. It's the cause, and the effects come from that cause, but you have to take the next step and take the next step and take the next step. Like that idea of just being on the path, and I don't care how long it takes. I'm a this. It's like, I'm a doctor. I'm going to school for 8 years. Like, get comfy, man, because you're going to be doing the work.
Quantum jump medical school. Please, let's see it.
That's what I mean when I'm like, are we really quantum jumping? It's like, oh my God. Like, and I'm just like built like a brick shit house, like Abby, and I'm just over here just like, like I just accidentally wind up pooping your pants if you're not careful trying to jump timelines like that. People don't do it.
Ouch.
No, but it's that's the kind of idea I think that a lot of people kind of come in with. And, what really gave me relief was understanding this idea of infinity and like the all being the mind. It's like, okay, I don't have to work as hard as I think. I don't have to create something that doesn't exist yet. I just have to choose my way to something that exists, just not in the third dimension yet. So the steps and the processes of that are not going to be so finite, where it's like, if we were to go complete materialism, I do this, then that leads to this, and then this will happen here, which it's not a bad thing to have a strategy, but you need to be able to be flexible within that strategy, because the way that the universe sort of works is not the way that the conscious mind works. It's going to give us different scenarios, situations, etc., for us to basically choose continuing going up that way, but it will never work out the way we thought. Like the end goal, it will have the essence, like you were talking about the feeling earlier, it will have that essence, but it will never look exactly like that, or at least not in my experience. I don't know if somebody's saying that, like, I visualized my parking space and pulled right into it or whatever, and I'm sure those things, they can happen, whatever. But for me, it's never looked like what I thought it should look like. And even if it had the same characteristics and the same feel and all those types of things, but it's actually been better than what I could have forecasted or really wanted for myself. Like certain things would happen, opportunities where I was just on that path. Here's what I'm doing. I'm just doing it. I'm just chopping wood, chop wood, carry water, right? Like your enlightenment comes on. You're like, I'm doing this thing. And then you just keep working toward it. But then before you know it, an opportunity comes along that's even better than the thing. Yeah, the universe is the best at throwing surprise parties. That's, like somebody just in the Facebook says, like, it's always been a surprise. I think so too, right? Like that's been my experience. I can't speak for anybody else, but I feel like the universe is definitely the best at throwing surprise parties. And then when that thing comes, you're like, oh, damn, and your mind is blown, and you see how amazing, and how incredible the co-creation process is, because it's not all you. And I think that might be where people are fucking up too, is they think it's all them and they're the only person in their reality maybe, or something like that, or they're in some other reality and then they're going to jump to some other reality where these people don't exist anymore or something like that. If it's coming from like escapism and wanting to get out of the reality that we exist in, that we're all part of, and like you're saying, we all have our layer, we're all contributing and co-creating to this, and right now we're really, fusing our layers together, building a large layer. We're all doing that in microcosms, and that's kind of how energy is working.
Yeah.
But for us to do that consciously and to learn how to work with the universe, not try to control everything. The more we try to manhandle the universe, the more we're just going to get in our own way. And I've shared it a lot of times, but I'm not allowed to. I'm going to have to make my own infographic or something, I guess, because David Hawkins, whoever owns the rights to his materials, copyright strikes us every time we share.
I remember that. That was weird.
But the power versus force map is awesome. And the idea being that power comes from within. And that's really about that alignment and you being in resonance, in harmony with yourself, who you really are. Whereas the force is always coming from this lack mentality. I'm going to control you. I'm going to manipulate you. I'm going to gaslight you. I'm going to force you because I'm coming from a place where I'm not complete. And I think that's a really important characteristic to think, and a great model to be able to just look at, and to compare where you're at in your mentality and what you're trying to do. Because if you're trying to trick somebody into doing something, then you're probably not coming from a place of love or reason or or any of these like higher vibrational states. You're coming from a place where you're trying to manhandle reality, and that's not how it works. We all innately want to create the reality that we want to see. We want to be able to control to a certain extent, or manipulate reality, or have an effect on reality, create our layer, let's say. We all have that desire, and most of us wind up giving up because we can't figure out how to use the joystick. But it's all about that emotional countenance that you spoke of earlier, Marianne. Right. I think coupled with that warrior mentality, that ruthlessness, I'm going to get here. I don't care. There's no importance in that. It just is a statement and a pure intention. And so now you're just like moving that way, and regardless of what comes in your way, you're just going to be like water and flow around it and keep going toward your goal and ultimately find something, I believe, because I've experienced it myself, that's even better than you set out for.
And the flowing around it part, and, talking about like the chain of events to get there. I've learned a little bit through manipulated cards, just regular playing cards, learning this system called the Patience of the Medici, which we're about to make a video about. But when you reenact this chain, it shows you that all the little shit that happens during the day. So you set an intention, and then the cards will show you, what every little event that has to happen for your intention to come true, right? Or for it to happen. And I mean, there's 36 cards because you use 36 of the regular playing cards, and each one represents something different. But the traffic stop that happened, the annoying person who stopped you and said something, those all had to happen in order for that one thing to happen. So you have no idea how to predict that chain. You can't even, those little things are probably important. So when you're trying to manifest something and, you have these little annoyances and hiccups, that had to happen for you to get your thing. So, and it's amazing. It works. And it worked every time I did it. So it's an algorithm and it's a code. It is a cheat code. But those things have to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've actually worked with that, and that was from the dream.
Searches,
yeah. So the other thing that's worked as well, and I've been experimenting with this, over the last 3 or 4 months, where it's from Neville Goddard, and it is reverse engineering reality, the revision bit. When shit goes wrong, like you review your day and you review it going backwards from you get into bed to go to bed, and you work it backwards, and you see the sort of line of the progression. And then it becomes a journaling exercise where you write out how you wanted it to go down. And it's been an interesting thing, because as I have done that and rewrote, reverse engineered what went down in that day, and reverse engineered, wrote it down how I would have preferred it, it's amazing, because it's actually happened time and time and time and time and time again, where the things that I was alerted to that, could have been a shit show because they were a shit show, like complete 180s. And it's one of those things where you watch it unfold in real time. And I'm just like going, look at this. This
Because
is like
you're healing the energetic timeline. You're allowing
exactly.
it.
It is the shit. I was just like so floored. And I remember reading this like way back when and kind of fucking around with it. But I think I was just actually, I think at the time, honestly, I was too stoned. I was too stoned to focus, to be perfectly honest. But being really intentional in that practice, it's just like using the cards. You're just like, what? I mean, it's like this delightful, like the universe is like making out with me, going, see, it's so much fun. It's wild.
It really opens your mind, and that's just putting it mildly, because there's no way for all those 36 events to happen, for your one thing to happen, 35 things to happen for your one thing.
The chain
and you
of
watch
events.
it happen. It's wild.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm excited about being able to share that, because when I read the Dream Searchers the first time, I was like, wow, that's crazy. Patience and Medici, interesting. And then through the reading group that we had, the dream group, and still do.
We all figured it out.
Yeah, through a bunch of people. Just
took a lot.
Dude, it did take a lot, because there were typos in the book. I mean, it was crazy. I thought I would never understand.
Yeah, it isn't exactly straightforward. But
No.
when you connect the dots, it's like,
yeah, because all those little things have to happen, and it's kind of crazy. I have yet to do a chain that
I've shared a couple chains,
but
you should try it. You guys should try it. It's wild when you do, because you're like, one of them was like a persona with money, and I walked by. There's a lady who literally had a jacket on, like a a blazer with money symbols. I'm like, there's my persona with money. There's my queen of what's it called? Yeah, Queen of Diamonds right there. But I mean, it was just, I'm walking through and I'm seeing every card.
Wow.
And who really wears a jacket with money symbols?
They come alive.
Yeah. In real life, you see it happen. It's wild.
That's cool.
It's a whole new way of reality creation, and when it happens, I can't even explain the feeling, because just manifesting using transurfing already has done that to me. But then this is like, you watch 35 things happen, and then well, your thing isn't usually 36. It's usually somewhere in the middle, but a warrior always follows through. A magician always follows through. So you complete your chain no matter what. You sit there and watch for all the other events, even after it happens.
So cool.
But
yeah, I'm excited to share that, because it's not something that I ever thought I would understand. I just, it's like a big part of that book. And there's a lot of other parts of that book that I think are at least equally, if not more important. But it's really a cool little thing to share. So I'm excited.
They learned it in dreaming. That's the wild thing, is that, it was a real thing. Mary Stewart and everybody did it, but they learned it from dreams.
There's so much there in dreams too, and in that specific book about, like, a lot of Castaneda's techniques are consolidated. And I know, Abby, you probably have gotten a lot deeper. You even said, and I'm excited to hear about it, like a lot deeper insight into a lot of the Castaneda techniques here as of recent, through a lot of experimentation and probably reading as well. I read that Dream Searchers book a few years ago, and it was good. I was like, oh, that's good. And then I read it again, and I was like, holy shit, there is some stuff in here that is absolutely,
Same. And then I just read like 8 of the 10 or 11 or 12 of the Castaneda books. And now I understand. I was flipping through it the other night, and I was going, oh my gosh, now I'm going to have to read it a third time, because now I understand all of this, like, on a whole different level. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, lots of that. I had a request from somebody on Instagram, and they said, "Hey, would you guys be willing to talk about the Mandela effect since you're talking about jumping timelines?" And I thought that might be a fun topic to just kind of riff on for a minute. I don't know if y'all have any theories or ideas regarding the Mandela effect. When I first saw that Bernstein Bears thing, it really messed me up. It's the thing that my mom, like, it freaks her out, man. Like, she's like, it really freaks her out. And, you know, there's a lot of different theories. People talk about CERN and other things, and that may have something to do with it. But I just want to talk about the pliability and the idea that reality is a living, breathing thing. So many of us, we see reality as this concrete material stuff, right? It's still, you know, I touch this, I push this thing off the ledge, whatever. But we're constantly a part of nature. And I heard Gordon White talking about this maybe a few months ago, talking about how reality is responding and alive, and we're all a part of this network. And if you look into Eileen Day McCusick's work with the electric body, electric health, the idea of plasma and the idea that we are all connected through some energy, which is an electrical force, is testament to that, to being literally connected to all the parts of reality. We are part of it. It is part of us. And as far as the Mandela effect goes, I think, you know, maybe we shift so far away. You know, I don't think we can go too far.
I don't know.
It's a pretty clown worldy.
Yes, you can. Go look up Zanetti train. Look up the Zanetti train.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Zanetti. It was an Italian train that went into a tunnel and never came out. Showed up in Mexico, like in a different time.
Yeah.
And
in the past,
there was 104 passengers. They all spoke Italian, had Italian passports, Italian cigarettes. And they're from the 1800s. Yep. And they locked them all up and thought they were all nuts.
Yeah, thought they were all crazy.
Yeah. So you can jump pretty far.
Well, yeah, like glitches, you know, things like that. From my experience, I have interpreted things as like, oh my God, I'm in another timeline. And generally speaking, my friends just got a new, you know, a repaint of their house. You know what I'm saying? But like there are, I think, other things, and it's easier for me to make the connection to like things that are far back. You know, again, like that idea of the Bernstein Bears sort of thing, which are just funky glitches in reality. But that is a prime example of major glitch in reality. That's pretty cool. Like, I don't even know how do they even sort of explain or justify that? I forget what the explanation is when they talk about the Zanetti train. Like,
they don't. I mean, they have some of the passengers' items in a museum, I think, but they don't. They pretty much said that they were nuts. That's it. They locked them all up.
But they
all of them were put into a mental institution.
Yeah.
They all had their COVID.
They weren't even in the right time. They were in a different time. So it's not like they could prove who they were.
Plus, they're talking some language that sort of sounds like Spanish, but not quite, you know, and people were probably pretty confused by that. No, that's crazy. Yeah, the Mandela effect it's pretty bizarre. I don't know how to.
I mean, I've heard weird explanations about it, especially relative to the misplacing of film rolls.
Okay.
And that somehow the film roll had a specific address, but rather than going to that address, it went to the wrong address. So everything got like switched, but yet there was this sort of continuity of time. And unfortunately, the misplaced address, I mean, how does it manifest? It manifests with these Italians who were supposedly on a train showing up in Mexico in a different timeline. It's like, it could happen. I mean, you know, I have like mused about that. And there have been other things, like I can't think of them specifically right now for whatever reason, but you know, that explanation of the film rolls being misplaced and being misfiled. I mean, I guess it's as good an explanation as any. Uh,
Yeah.
but for me, it's just it's kind of a novelty, but it doesn't satisfy my sort of um, there's a real logic part of me that's just like, I want to know what happened, and I guess we're never gonna know
Yeah.
unless of course we intend to find out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason. So this, what it makes me think of is the dream overseer kind of thing,
That's
right?
what I was going to
Okay.
say.
Yeah. Well, go
Is
ahead.
that
Go
it?
ahead.
Kind of like the dream world, when you're lucid, the dream is always trying to pull you back to sleep. And the same thing with
Mhm.
reality. If you actually, are at your center point, I see myself and I see reality, how fast does the world try to suck you back into one
Yeah.
screen or the other, to your
Right.
inner screen or your
Right.
outer screen? But
Right.
same in the dream. The dreams, I mean, I could be lucid and I could go through all these different experiments and everything, but the dream will keeps trying to pull me back,
Right.
and I mean, to the point where one time it had me convinced. I woke up at home with my family all around me, and I was like, oh, I don't remember waking up, but yep, this is my home and these are my kids, and it was not my house and they were not my family. None of them were my kids, but I was convinced that it was my
Wow.
home and my children. And I mean, none of them, nothing was real. So it's the same thing with reality. I think it tries to pull you back in. And I also think that so it okay, simulation possibly, especially when you can input a code like the Patience of the Medici and you can watch a
Right.
chain
Right.
unfold and then you get
Right.
what you want. So if I can enter a hack, I mean, what does that really
Right.
say about all this? So is it because I've woken up to something, or a lot of us have woken up to something, and so then they have to go back and try to put us back to sleep, and they get a little lazy?
Yeah, I don't know. The idea of that dream overseer blew my mind because, like, for the longest time, if I would try to read in dreams, it was the biggest tell. I would read, and the words would do weird stuff. It wouldn't say what it was supposed to, and then before too long, I was able to read in dreams, and what they said in that book, and what was cool about it, because it was written from the 90s, is that it's kind of like when you're in the dream and then you start to become aware, it's like a 6-disc CD changer. and what would happen is once you start to become aware you've been lucid or whatever, well, then they would try to switch the CD on you, and you go into a different dream, a different setting, a different environment, and now you're in a different place. And so that's supposed to knock you back into non-lucidity, because for whatever reason, whatever's beyond or behind whatever, and there could be something on the other side of sort of this reality, as above, so below, right? Like, as a dream space, there could be an overseer of this as well, or something that's possibly attempting to kind of keep us maybe distracted by everything, And when we're in that lucid state, we're so much more receptive, and
You're the character who came to life on the film strip.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's pretty crazy, the
Yeah.
difference of how much you can notice and sort of absorb in that state too. So I don't know. There's something interesting about that, and I don't know. It fucks me up too, But like,
I It
yeah,
comes back to that assemblage point, which sounds, it's hard to explain to somebody who has no context. But if your assemblage point even just shifts a little bit, it changes the
okay,
color.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the assemblage point then in that case, because that might actually have more of a power of leverage than anything else, and that's each
It's
of
what
us
creates every
individual,
person's
right?
perception of reality.
So let's say
So
that you,
crazy people have a really fluid one, maybe, and they have no way to control it and to stabilize their assemblage point. Your assemblage point's it's like a, I guess, like a transmitter, like almost like an antenna,
mhm.
Yeah.
and it can move in infinite points in a circle, right?
Mhm.
But it also can move up and down. So like,
Down.
there's all these different, that means there's that many realities that you can tune into. There's a reality where I'm a little old lady with a hunchback. There's a reality where, I'm like massive bodybuilder, bigger than I am now. And but I'm just saying that there's all these different realities. There's realities where I'm a man, and they all exist on these different points of perception on this wheel that we're all connected to. We all have our own. So, and if it shifts just even slightly, and it does, they shift all the time. When we shift our perception and our ideas, or we expand our cosmography charts, then we shift our antenna there.
So it's kind of like your point of awareness.
Yep.
And so basically, like depending on where your point of awareness is, let's say that you took some form of substance, right? And so it totally changes the way that you experience things, and your assemblage point perhaps shifts. Maybe some of these experiences that people have, and they do like a Kundalini awakening or something like that, or they have an OBE or a near-death experience, and that shifts that assemblage point. Sometimes I feel like it comes back too.
It
Like
generally does.
Yeah, because it like bends back. It's like my uncle or, several people that I've known who have had, really serious surgeries and made it through, and they're just bubbling with just unconditional love, And in time, like they kind of get back to themselves a little bit. It happened to me one time, not terribly long ago, a few years ago, where I had a pretty profound experience, and then I couldn't like if somebody would have told me a dark joke or, made something. I was just really sensitive, I guess, for a while afterward, and then over time, I kind of got back to, being able to be a little bit more sarcastic and stuff like that. But yeah, I think a lot of times our perspective shifts, and I think that's what that assemblage point sort of has to do with our awareness, and it has to do a lot with, I think, how we perceive and the idea of like these jumping timelines, shifting, reality. Because regardless of what even happens out here, if your experience is changing, that's what's really the most important part. And that's what's going to have the most leverage anyway.
Because you and I could have the same event happen. We could be in a car accident and have the same exact thing happen, but our experiences were completely different.
Yep.
Because your assemblage point is in a different spot than mine.
Yep. I would have a completely different experience. And that's why, like, you...
Fascinating.
Yeah, you ask two people who are in the same place that witness the same thing, and they'll have two completely different takes on it.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
I love this life.
Yeah, I know. Then it makes you like go to the whole like, okay, so if you have infinite points on your assemblage point, like it almost ties into the law of one to me, because it's like we're just God experience ourselves in every form, I'm you.
Yeah, I think so too. I definitely agree with that. I mean, you can't separate the all from the all. You know what I mean? It just is what it is, and there's a drop of the all in everything. So it is all the all. After all, anyway, from the Department of Redundancy Department.
You're pretty good at that.
Repeating myself? Yeah, I'm excellent at it. That's what comedy is. Just repeating the same shit over and over and over again until you figure out how to make it funny. So I'm taking the fortress by lengthy siege. That's what it is.
Nice.
No, that's great. Yeah, you guys, man. I feel like we covered a lot already so far. I'm curious if anybody else wants to share their experience here in the chat or comments. We are all consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. Yeah, I would agree.
Nice.
We are they. The they.
The they.
Is us. I agree. I'm you. You're me. We're one. Non-duality. It sounds kind of like a Lenny Kravitz song that used to be good in the 90s. It probably is. I haven't heard it in a while, but that Are You Gonna Go My Way record was actually pretty good. I'm showing my age, but good music stands the test of time, But
yes, it does.
Let's see. Kat says she's been having strange, weird dreams with people from my past that she doesn't care much about.
You might be needing to reintegrate some stuff. So it sounds maybe some soul fragment retrieval or trauma healing.
Whoever this person is, I like you. We agree on the record. Yeah, so talk a little bit about that if you don't mind, Abby. How dreams can kind of show us maybe some things we need to work on or accept, or and maybe what that process is a little bit like.
Okay, I'm gonna try to pull up. Hopefully, this isn't too personal because I'm gotta scan it really quick. One of my last dreams. Well, okay. Anytime that you have a dream that points to a certain part of your body or focuses on a certain color, because usually the color relates to your 7 chakras. So like if it keeps focusing on the one color, and it'll be that way for me. If it's a color, it'll be like orange and orange and orange. So I know it's a sacral chakra thing, which means I need to go in and kind of look at what a sacral chakra blockage looks like, emotionally, physically, and work through it. But usually a lot of it relates to the 5 soul wounds, which are rejection, abandonment, injustice, humiliation, that's the big one, and betrayal. And everybody suffers from at least one of those, but usually you have some degree of all of them. So they'll show up in dreams. So like for me, if I dream about snow or ice blocks and stuff like that, I know that I'm projecting the injustice wound that usually says injustice. So I can wake up the next morning and it's not necessarily that the dream had anything to do with what I have to heal. It's just pointing out that because my body is my subconscious. My body is telling me what it needs to heal. So it's like, hey, you have this injustice thing that you've stored in your body for a long, long time. It's about ready to come up. So pay attention. So the next day or two, I pay attention to the thoughts and memories that randomly come up in my head. So I could have a memory about the time that my sister took something away from me and it wasn't fair. And I get pissed off about it again, even though it happened when I was 4 years old. So that's my moment to go back into it and feel the feelings that I felt when I was 4, allow them to be, get them out of my body because they were trapped in my body for all this time. And then I can go back into the memory and it doesn't have pain affiliated with it anywhere in my body. It's just memory, and I can probably laugh about it. But your dreams usually show you exactly what you need to pull out of your body, what's ready to heal. So.
Yeah, that book is awesome. What is it called? Heal Your Wounds and Find Your True Self by Lise Bourbeau. I'll put it in the chat. It is. It was really, really powerful when I found that book. And Janine gave that to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. And it's Janine. Yep. Janine. She's pretty good at pointing out the healing dreams, the dreams that show that you need healing, and acupuncture chart, which you can't really see mine, but it's right behind me. When you dream about a specific body part, that's usually because you have a blockage there. So acupuncture, is the different meridians, and it'll tell you what emotion needs to come up and that needs to be cleared out of that meridian. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those things, you get into it, you learn more about it, and you start to take the next action, and learn more and more. And I think we made a lot of really cool progress through the Dream Group. I want to say thank you. I'm really excited to get into the Patience of the Medici and share that with people so that they can check it out, because I think it's fascinating. It's hard to explain it, like I try to explain it to people and they're like, oh yeah, well, yeah, really, bro? And I'm like, fuck you. I'm going to go ground outside and do some
I hear you.
And do some bloodletting. Go fuck yourself. How about that?
Well, you can use that too. That's the cool thing. You can use it to pull back energy from any project you never completed. So that's the really cool thing. So I've done you have to go through it 36 times. I've only done it 4, but still that's energy from incomplete chains. So
yeah, I remember that. That's really cool. Yeah, that's to so that's kind of like recapitulation, but in an energy form where, let's say that you put a lot of energy into a project or something that you worked on, and you didn't bring it to its completion, then you can actually get that energy back and apply it wherever you'd like. So maybe to another project or what have you, which is theoretically sounds banging. Like, what about like relationships? Can you get your relationship energy back, you think?
yeah, oh yeah, but you don't need the cards for that. You can do that. It's soul fragment retrieval. It's a theta healing idea. It's not really shamanism does it too, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's
shamanism
not.
does it. Mm-hmm.
You know, I've done it for myself quite a bit, and it's like it's a real thing. And Castaneda even talks about it that every time that you're with somebody physically, you've actually given away a piece of your light fiber, and you've taken on a piece of theirs. So you need to energetically give it back. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's an interesting concept, but you think that it's not always attached to emotion because you don't feel like it's always an emotional thing. And then if you do any of this soul fragment retrieval, you'd be surprised that every single time meant something. So you do have emotion attached to it.
Yes, we're gonna do some soul fragment retrieval. Everybody, take your place, lay down on your blankets. But what's a good place to start for that? That sounds. I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, oh, here we go. You know, ancestral trauma, soul fragment retrieval. But what's a good place to start for that? Because like really, what it is to simplify it, the things that you've said no to or blocked out or were uncomfortable or embarrassed about. It's just about bringing that back in to yourself and owning it fully, which is good. If you want to be yourself, you want to be authentic like Maria, then you want to own all that shit and cuss like a sailor because it sounds cool. And
you have to purge all the ex-lovers out of your field.
That's right.
Yes, you do.
Even the ones that were like really, really, really good, because the energy exchange, the energy transference, I mean, it's substantial.
Yeah. And so it is.
Usually those relationships that are the most damaging, but they're also the most, like physically enjoyable, right? I mean, whatever it is.
Well, it's not that you didn't enjoy it. It's just that, it came with a little bit of spiritual ectoplasm.
Spiritual ectoplasm. Yeah. I love it.
I don't know. I was just kind of getting Ghostbuster-ish here, but
no, I love that. It's great.
It's like you gotta kind of wash that off, and really, it just starts with like the method is pretty simple. But you can't really do too much at once. I will say that because you just kind of connect to the creator and you command it. Like, I'm giving back this to this person and I'm taking back all that's mine as is proper, and it is done, it is done, it is done. It's pretty simple. It's just a little kind of incantation, but you feel the energetic exchange. But then if you try to do too much, all in one sitting, all of a sudden you're crying, which is weird because I don't really cry. And then all of a sudden I'm like, what the heck? I'm crying from this crap. I never felt anything for this person. And it's like, oh, apparently I felt something because of the exchange. So, and it's still there. It haunts you. So you can't do too much.
There's also a transference. There's also a transference of whatever it is that they're suppressing. Mm-hmm. And if you have an openness to it that you don't even know about, you can actually run it for them.
Yeah.
That's fucking pleasant.
I had a friend who did soul fragment retrieval and, cut kind of energetic cords like that. And after she did, she, like even her husband, he felt sick afterwards. He didn't realize, that how much of it, her energy she was giving out.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. I just dropped the.
It's intense when I work with my survivors of trafficking, or the folks that I work with who have retired from sex work. That shit is intense because you can, and you're absolutely right. You can only do so much. It's exhausting, and then the body has to integrate all of
Hmm.
that and kind of update from that before you can even go on.
Yeah, it's like you got to do it in bite-sized chunks
Yeah,
just so that way
yeah,
you can actually, otherwise you're not doing it right.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, you can't do it all at once.
intense.
That's not possible. I just put a link to the Ascension Glossary version of the soul fragmentation for people because I feel like
Nice.
she does a pretty good job. There's a lot of old school shaman books that talk about it that are great. I worked with a shaman for a while, and we worked a bit on that, and then a lot of other traditional shamanic practices. But yeah, like there's a lot of different ways to kind of get at that Reiki, and then EFT tapping. Jim Shane's stuff is good for that kind of stuff.
The dreaming your soul back home stuff too, the
Dreaming Your Soul Back Home?
Robert Moss.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's shamanic dreaming, but it's also really effective. You can use a dream as a reentry portal to go back into a memory and find your soul fragments. So
Yeah, I've been able to jump into dreams that I was already having, which is cool. I don't realize I'm dreaming though. I jump in there and I'm like, oh, like it's like I didn't realize that I entered it, that it's a dream. I just go on about it. So I don't know. Maybe it's that overseer just slipping me a tricky CD.
did I
just
tell
change
you
it.
I found my physical body with my energetic body in a lucid dream last week?
I think I did see that. Now, I
Ooh.
wanted to ask about when you were telling me that you came upon your daughter in dreams and said, "Hey, you're."
She was okay, so she was at camp and I literally found her in a lucid dream and she was having a nightmare because I was having a nightmare, and then I realized I was dreaming. But then she was really focused and I kept saying, "Wait, Pandora, wake up. You're dreaming." And she was like, I could see her eyes moving back and forth like rapid eye movement, and she was like kept moving and trying to close these curtains to hide, and I kept saying it to her, and then she finally like turned and looked at me and focused. She goes, "I'm dreaming?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh my gosh, we're dreaming together." And I was like, "Yes." And so we fist bumped, and I didn't get to ask her about it because she was at camp. But the next night, or when she got home, I said, "Oh my gosh, I saw you in the dream and I'm pretty sure it was you," and she said, "Mom, I don't remember my dream." She's like, "I feel like I was having a nightmare though." So
Huh.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in that Dream Searchers book, they talk a lot about a place where they meet every single night at midnight, which is not a real time, if you know, you know. But they would like meet in the dream space and, picnic, I guess. I don't know. Maybe make plans for, upending world domination. Because they were basically like the good guys in the book, and the bad guys were like trying to, dominate and control stuff. But they also had magical powers. It was pretty good as far as the story goes. I feel like the translation didn't hold up as well, but as far as the story goes, it was actually really pretty well written.
and you can really see the parallels to the darkness in our world right now. So
Yeah,
it's
there's some of that.
yeah,
You'll have
you can
that.
definitely see it.
There's a lot of IRS agents like swooping around. Freaking one day, they might even figure out how to hold a gun properly. I don't know. Like I've seen some funny pictures today on Twitter and stuff. But yeah, I kid. We like to have a little bit of comedy on the show. Sometimes, some nights more than others. but we do like to have a little bit of comedy on here. Just in case somebody says something true. Then we can be like, no, it was just a joke. It was a bit.
That's why I'm talking in code.
That's right. He's just talking binary, and we'll figure it out. Let's see. Yeah. I just want to say thanks to everybody who's still here. Everybody, be sure to go and check out Maria's stuff. It's all at lovetruthandbeauty.com. Follow Abby if you're on Instagram. If you're on Facebook, we have a group that you can join. Love to have you in there. Pretty active in there. And then we also have a Telegram group. It's chill. There's really not a lot of drama. It's not that crazy. Neither one of the groups are that crazy, but there's really helpful information, cool people in there. And just want to make sure you guys see that stuff. You have access to it. If you don't fuck with Telegram or Facebook, that's cool too. We're here hanging out, and we have this streaming all across Rockfin, YouTube, and in our Facebook group, and also our friends at Content Safe are going to be distributing it. If you know anybody who is a content creator and they're trying to get more reach and reach more people, or if they're nervous that they might get censored or shadow banned, which they could very likely, that is a real thing, then you want to check them out, contentsafe.co. Yeah, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We got some links below. We've got, we're going to be in Mount Shasta with the Grimerica guys next February. That's getting closer and closer. They're going to announce some bigger people for that. So if you're interested in doing that, you'll want to go ahead and reserve your spot as soon as you can. Greg Carlwood of the Higher Side Chats will be there. And there may or may not be a couple of other pretty awesome guests. Brandon Powell was great last year. He was a Wim Hof instructor of 12 years. Blew my mind. We did cold baths. We did breathing. Joe Roop was there. We did like an astral, I don't even know what you would call it, like sort of technique kind of thing, guided meditation, I suppose. And he's got his stuff out now that he's been making audios with. But anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, I love those guys. I got to get those Grimerica guys on here at some point. They'll definitely help with that whole shadow ban thing. I want to thank you, Maria, so very much for coming to hang out with me. Is there anything that you want to talk about or let people know about before we hop off of here?
Well, I'm going to interview you tomorrow.
Right after I go to the dentist.
Yeah. yeah. Are you going to be fine with that? Or, I mean, okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
Yeah, I have a series that I'm calling Conversations with Men.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That sounds good. That
You're
sounds
one
like
of my mans. One of my men's.
I'm honored. I'm happy to. Yeah, I'm happy to be the man in that conversation.
Yeah.
Usually when I have a conversation with men, if they're strangers, they usually just they talk about my beard. I thought if I grew a beard, I would impress women, but
hey, if I could grow a beard, I would. I have two very sharp random hairs. Weird, and it'll actually break skin. I'm not kidding you. And it's like, it's not there right now. It's just random. It'll be gone for like a couple of years, and then all of a sudden, what the fuck? It's back. Go figure.
Yeah, it's you should just grow it out and see how long you can do it.
It's good luck.
Three. There's only two. Then I could like braid it properly or something.
There you go.
Yeah, a lot of guys they can't grow a beard. They're like, man, I wish I could grow a beard like you. I'm like, dude, I literally did nothing to deserve this or to get to this point. Like, I was just lazy, and that's all. And and now I feel awkward, so I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? Like, there are some interesting things about having a beard. I gotta explore the phenomenon more and more, but it's interesting. Abby, anything that you'd like to share anywhere you'd like to direct people to check out what you've been up to?
Well, I don't really do a lot of status updates, but if you want to connect with me, then hit me up on Instagram at abstract1. So
sounds good. Yeah. So I got all those links in the show notes, guys. So go and check that
Telegram.
out. Yeah. Or Telegram. Yeah. Subscribe and rate the podcast here. And yeah, we would appreciate it. That's something you can do if you've enjoyed the show. You can give us a rating. A lot of guests look at the ratings of podcasts when they're booking. So the more ratings that we have, the more legitimate we look, the bigger the guests that we can get. So if you could subscribe and rate the podcast, even if you don't subscribe, we would really, really appreciate that. It would mean a lot. Also, if you want to say hello to me, there's a link in all the other videos. I don't know if I put one in here. And I got one coming out on Friday. If you decide that you want to just chat with me and say hello, I would love that. I would love to connect with you if you're enjoying our content. Then I will give you a free gift for calling and saying hello. And I won't, I won't be trying to sell you anything or anything like that. It's just an introductory call. I'm not going to NLP you. I'm not going to Illuminati mind control you. But we have some great episodes coming up. We are going to have the producers from the Anarchists on the show coming up soon. I got to book that. I've got a couple of great guests coming up, as well as a video out this week. So check that out. Check us out on all the platforms. Thank you so much for being a part of this. You guys are great. Much love. Good luck with your podcast. If you want help, holler at your boy. That's what I'm here for. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, please. Please and thank you. I have manners. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.